What a great way to get us started. Are we all in? Are we all in? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Sugimori, she, her, and I am a proud board member of the National Employment Law Project, former staff attorney. I currently wear my other hat of the Policy and Research Director for 32BJ SEIU. It is so exciting to see so many people here today. From what I've heard, there's over 320 attendees for this conference. We have folks from 38 different states, so good representation from around the country. Around 200 organizations represented today, so there's a lot of passion, energy, brain power, excitement to bring to the table. This is NELP's 50th year. And I think everyone here can say that NELP has been so central to the movement of lifting up workers' rights, fighting for worker justice and worker organizing, and will be helping lead our movements into thinking more critically about confronting white supremacy and structural racism as we fight to lift up standards for all workers. So I want folks to keep this in mind in participating and showing up at the different sessions and workshops and all of the exciting conversations you're going to be part of. I think we should all be asking ourselves the question, how are we using the tools that we have to confront structural racism and lift up workers who have been left out, specifically Black workers, workers of color, immigrant workers, women, and how are we building worker power, not just advocating to legislators and to those who can help us, but building organization, building power, building a worker voice, because that is how we are going to save this country. So this is a great opportunity for us to step outside of our day-to-day, the weeds that we're in every day, and really participate in some exciting thinking. This is a moment of great worker activity. It was very inspiring to hear the words of President Taylor. Workers are in motion, workers are fighting, we're sick of what's going on, and we are going to build a better tomorrow. 2020 is going to be a big deal. We need to show up for it, but we're winning now, and we will keep winning, and we will take that to leverage the change that we need. I want to make just an acknowledgement of a couple of things right now. As we gather here, we are on lands that are traditionally the lands of the Las Vegas Paiute tribe and their ancestors, the Tudino people, and we honor elders past and present as we stand here. I also want to recognize that, of course, this is a union hotel. Yeah. Yes. The people who are working here are represented by the Culinary Workers Union, the Bartenders Union, the operating engineers, and we are proud and pleased to make sure that we do our business in union hotels. So. All right. Another piece of housekeeping, we have a hashtag, We Are All In. I think that's going to be up at some point. People will see it, hashtag We Are All In, one word. But I want folks to be active in social media, show up, use that hashtag, and we'll track what we're doing. I also just wanted to note for a moment that we are in a moment of exciting transition for NELP. We have the bittersweet opportunity to acknowledge the amazing work that Chris Owens has done to put NELP in the place that it's in. Over the last few years, tens of millions of workers have benefited from lifted up minimum wages, from improved reforms to unemployment insurance, from banning the box and providing opportunities for workers re-entering the workforce. And that is an amazing legacy and a strong organization that will carry the work forward. And strong organization that is going to be led by a strong woman, Rebecca Dixon. You'll be hearing more from her. But this is an exciting opportunity for us to walk the walk and to talk to each other today. And so I am very excited to participate in the conversations that are happening. I want to, let people know that there is no programming at lunch, but if you're attending one of the issue-specific meetings that have been scheduled and you don't know what room you're in, you can check the registration table. I want to thank all of the speakers. And I want to hand things over to Laura Martin, who can talk about the discussion that's happening right now. And for Those of you who are going to breakout sessions, you'll come back here for lunch at 12:15. But Laura Martin, Executive Director of Plan, will be taking the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Las Vegas. Thank you for the introduction. Like she said, my name is Laura Martin. I'm the Executive Director of the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada. This year is actually our 25th anniversary. In Nevada, we were founded in 1994 by Northern Nevada activists who saw a need for progressives, labor, immigrants, women, everybody to come together and to organize strategically to fight back against corporations, big business, mining, everybody that always wins no matter who the president is and what color the legislature is. They always win, but when we know, when we organize together, we can change that dynamic. Before I bring people up to the stage, I just want to thank also Dee Taylor for speaking to, and something he said is really critical for the discussion that we're about to have. We need to start going on the offensive. We can't wait to react. We can't hope that someone is going to bring what we need, especially in the case of workers. And so that's why I was really honored to ask to moderate this panel with workers who can speak directly to the victories that they helped organize with their fellow coworkers and how we are changing the face of Nevada, how Nevada has become and continues to be a union town, and how we continue to organize so we can make that mantra true, that one job should be enough. And with that, I want to bring everybody up on the stage, and as I call your name, feel free to walk up. Stephanie Dube with ASME Local 4041, Maria Francesca Mendoza with the Arriba Las Vegas Workers Center, Michelle DiManso, Culinary Workers Union Local 226, and LaLo Montoya with Make the Road Nevada. So we're going to ask some questions, and they're going to respond. I'm not sure if we're going to get to audience questions, but we will try. And when I ask the first question, folks are going to dive a little deeper into introducing themselves, and a couple of people have a video to share and also some photos. And so I want to start with the first video. I'm not sure who I look to cue that up. So we're going to start with Maria. We're going to show Maria's video first. And then the first question that everyone's going to answer is, tell us about a campaign you worked on recently that you thought was a success, and what made that campaign a success. So video first, and then we'll go to Maria to introduce herself and answer the question.
Porque esta persona me hacía trabajar 9, 10, 11 horas con un calor intenso que hasta insomnio me pegaba. No podía dormir hasta ya muy tarde. Le trabajaba duro y el señor me decía, parece soldado, parece soldado. Y pues por eso me gustaría cobrarle, porque fue mucho esfuerzo el que yo hice. Me ponía a trabajar 11 horas. Trabajé 11 horas el 4 de julio, día de fiesta. De todas las horas acumulé $720 a $15 la hora que él me prometió que me iba a pagar.
El otro día nos fuimos a hacer un roofing y no nos pagó. Se paró un policía. No lo separó, yo lo paré, le dije, lo paré y se paró. ¿Qué tiene? Le digo, ¿sabe qué? Quiero compartir necesito una pregunta de usted, oficial. Le dije, ¿qué te pasa? Le dije, venimos a hacer en esta casa, venimos a hacer un trabajo de roofing. 3, mis amigos y yo. La señora nos mintió, nos sacó de la casa con mentiras de que íbamos a pintar la cocina, que fuéramos por la pintura al Home Depot, que nos estaba esperando allá. Llegamos al Home Depot, la señora ya no estaba. Nomás quería que nos saliéramos de la casa para que... Bueno...
I think we're fixing it.
rest of the video, if you want to go ahead and keep your slide.
Mi nombre es María Mendoza. Buenos días a todos.
My name is Maria Mendoza. Good morning to everyone, and I am Cal Soto. I'm a Workers' Rights Coordinator for the National Day Labor Organizing Network. I'll be interpreting and adding some context to the case that we're working on with Maria.
Vengo yo a presentar mi caso, que trabajé cuidando 3 niños y pues no me pagaron mi sueldo. Desde el 2017 me empezaron a pagar muy poco y cada mes me pagaba la señora. No me pagaba todo el dinero.
I came to present my case. I was caring for 3 children, and in about 2017, they started to pay me very little, not everything that I was owed.
Cada día me pagaba $50 y trabajaba 10 horas o 10 horas y media.
Every day they pay me $50, and I worked 10 to 10 and a half or more hours.
Y de ese tiempo de 2017 se me fue acumulando a la suma de 1940 que ya no vi mi pago para nada.
And so up to last spring, I was working at this rate, and I'm still owed over $1,940. $1,940. I've yet to see 1 cent of that.
De 2018 que ya no los volví a cuidar a los niños porque pues ella se juntó con otra persona y pues yo ya no vi a los niños para nada y hasta hoy en día.
I stopped taking care of the kids around 2018. I haven't seen the children since then, even though I cared for them before then, full time.
Antier recibí un mensaje del Señor diciéndome de que para este año quería verme cuidar otra vez los niños. Yo le dije que sí, pero no, pues no.
2 days ago, I got a message from the father saying that this year I hope that you'll be able to take care of my kids again. Maria Francisca said, I hope so, but probably not.
Yo le dije que sí, para que agarrara confianza, pero pues creo yo que no, no debe de ser uno tan tonto.
I said yes, just to be nice, but I said I'm not going to be somebody so. Yeah. I'm not going to be so stupid. That's it.
Pero eso sí, no me habló de pago para nada.
And he didn't mention the pay at all. You know, the rest of the video is.
Unfortunately, the rest of the video is not working,
Yeah.
but I'm sure
Yeah.
you all would be able to share it with us
For
some
sure.
other way. And then if folks wanted to talk about an organizing victory and what made it a
And
victory.
so just to add a little more context to the case, this case is still in process. We've filed it quite a while ago, at least 6 months ago, and in fact had a conversation directly with the Labor Commissioner of Nevada about this case. Here in the state of Nevada, there is a presumption that people are independent contractors, especially if they work in industries like day labor, childcare, domestic work, and there's not a lot of resources for these workers in order to access this office to make those claims. We're working with the Dignity at Work campaign with Arriba Las Vegas to make changes that would actually allow workers like these to access basic wage claim processes. We've had some wins. We've had cases that have been successful through the organizing of workers like Maria Francisca, Oscar Salazar, Yesenia. There's so many workers that have come together in order to fight these cases, but it's really individual cases, and every single one is a hill, a mountain to climb, I'd say. And it shouldn't be that difficult. And so that's the thrust of the campaign. We're going to talk a little bit more later about the meat of the campaign with Maria Francisca, but yeah, we can move on right now to the next.
Well, thank you. Next, we're going to go to LaLo Montoya. LaLo, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about Make the Road and an example of a successful campaign and what made it successful.
Muy buenos días. Thank you, Laura, and thank you everyone for having us here. I'm taking the place for Natalie Hernandez, who is our co-deputy political director. She has paid sick days. Make the Road Nevada is a member-led and member-funded organization that began in late 2017 in November. We fight to improve the quality of life of all immigrants and working families here in Nevada. And I come into this movement from Career Day in Denver's North High School when I found out what it meant to be undocumented in 10th grade. And I remember looking up at the college recruiter and her putting my application to the side because I didn't have a social security number. And I was really excited to go to broadcasting school, but she told me to go wait in line and get a social first. There was no support system for immigrant students back then in that school district. And because of our fight in North High School and the youth building a support system ourselves, now Denver is one of those school districts that does have that. One of our first wins, the first time I ever felt what what winning and organizing meant was we translated the school announcements to Spanish. And since then, at that school, not only are the school announcements translated, but also every graduation since then, school graduation. So that's where I come from, and since then, I bring those victories here to Nevada, and making sure that in our first legislative session, we would pass paid sick days. Over 1.4 million workers in Nevada didn't have that. But in 2019's legislative session, we were the only state with biannual legislature that not only passed paid sick days, but also passed a raise to the minimum wage. And it was really hard to do so, but it took busloads of people every month, 8-hour trips to get to Carson City, and working families to take time out of their day and their weekends to make this change happen. But it was an incremental change, and it only covers workers that work in companies with over 50 employees, and it's only 5 days. So we need to go back and fix that. The minimum wage raise was only up to 12 also. So it was incremental, and that is not good enough. We need bold and progressive policies, and that's why we're gonna keep fighting back.
Yes. Thank you, LaLo. And before we move on next, just to provide a little bit of context, Nevada's legislature meets for 120 days every odd number year. And our legislature is 400 miles away. It's an 8-hour bus drive. So our Capitol building is closer to Sacramento than where we are right now. So it's a lot that Make the Road did to be able to get working families up there to our Capitol. And next I want to introduce Michelle from the Culinary Union. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself. I think it's already on. They're going to turn it on back there. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a victory and what made it successful.
Hello, my name is Michelle DiManso. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I represent Local 226. I work for the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. I did not really know much about the union. I was approached around 2010-11 when we started to organize, and I didn't know what that was. So what organizing is to get the workers to understand what the benefit of being a union. For me, what was important was that we have the best medical insurance that anywhere in the country. It's free. We also have wonderful raises. We have seniority. We have a successorship with your contract, which means when you're sold, you are sold with the company, that you won't lose your job. You're with them. So I had an organizer, her name was Tina, and she explained a lot to me, and I learned a lot. It was a little scary at first to get the workers to organize and become what we believed in. When we'd go to work, the management was very abusive in ways that they had their own power. They would have us work 12-hour days, maybe a 30-minute break. They had favoritism. We're learning about having a contract and union was very happy. We were happy. And organizing my coworkers was a task, but then they understood what it was all about. We organized and finally got our contract in 2016, I believe. So it took 6 years. It was an experience, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And not only that is just the Cosmopolitan, it's the whole strip. We are together, we fight together, we unite. It's just not me, it's just not the Sahara, we all fight with each other. And it's a wonderful experience that I had, and we were successful. 2016, we got our first contract. You see pictures of Dee being arrested. And our contract just was renewed again. So I fought that fight as well. My workers appreciate it. They understand what it's all about. Workloads for the housekeeping was excessive. They work 8-hour days that are just very hard for them. No breaks. They were not taking breaks. Now we have a contract, and it is the most amazing contract that we can ever have. And I'm proud to be able to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I was able to sit through a presentation about contracts that workers have fought for, and I want people to know, like, the power of workers. If no matter who owns this building, the workers will not lose their jobs. They can implode this building tomorrow, and when they build it back up, the people first in line for a job are those culinary workers, and it's because of the contracts that the workers fought for and won.
Yes.
And then we also want to bring in Stephanie Dube from Ask Me Local 4041, and you're going to tell us a little about yourself and some recent victories from Ask Me.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I work for UNLV for 2 years in their custodian department. And just a little background on me personally, I'm a single mom. I have 2 young men. One's 23, married, a Marine, and a father of 1 little boy. And my youngest is actually a student enrolled in the Culinary program at CSN. So I am a state employee, and so for state of Nevada, for many years, we did not have a contract, a collective. We didn't have the right to collectively bargain, and so June 12th, 2019, Governor Steve Sisolak actually signed SB 135. And we had the right to collectively bargain. So that is a success for state employees. And leading up to that, it was a lot of hard work. We did a lot of blitzes. We did door knocking. We talked to our state legislators. We talked to our coworkers to make sure that they knew what the importance was to have the right to negotiate, to a right and a voice, to be able to negotiate for our, better wages and our safe working conditions. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. You can tell. It's okay. It's all these people. Thank you. So yeah, it's really important, the work that we're doing, and it was such a wonderful thing to be a part of, to be able to see SB 135 pass, and so thank you.
So I'm actually going to throw it back down to Maria Francisca and ask, the organizing that you're doing, what changed or what did you learn was possible when workers come together?
Quiero hablar. Creo que aquí no está la comisionada, pero creo que va a escuchar esto. Hace 6 meses, esta semana se va a cumplir, de que ella fue al grupo de Arriba Las Vegas, y ella nos prometió de que nos iba a ayudar, que nos iba a pues apoyar nuestra campaña, y nunca nos hemos dado cuenta de que nos apoye en nada.
I don't think the labor commissioner is here, but I hope that she is able to hear this. Of Nevada, about 6 months ago, we asked her, this is adding a little context, after a year of pressuring her to come and visit with the workers. 6 months ago, we were able to meet with her and asked her to help us and help our campaign at Arriba Las Vegas. And this was 6 months ago and has yet to actually make any steps in that direction.
Quiero que demuestre que tiene palabra en lo que nos prometió.
She needs to stand by her word and what she promised.
Porque sinceramente lo necesitamos, y pues que nos apoye a todos trabajadores, no solamente unos a otros, no, a todos.
Because seriously, we need it, and we hope that she supports all workers, not just one case, but all workers who are here.
Y con todo respeto, si no va a cumplir, pues mejor que deje entrada a otro que sí cumpla.
And with all respect, if she doesn't want to do that, if she doesn't want to comply by her word, stand by her word, then it would be better if she stepped aside and let somebody else come into that position.
Queremos ayuda en nuestra campaña. Queremos que nos apoyen, por favor.
We want help with our campaign, and we want you to support us, please.
Ya no quiero que nos estén robando nuestro sueldo, porque nosotros ponemos de nuestra parte, trabajar bien, quedar bien, y que no nos paguen no es justo.
We don't want them to not pay our wages anymore, our salaries anymore. It's for us to work and put our best work forward and our best foot forward, and for them not to pay us, it's not just, it's not right.
De primero estaba nerviosa, pero ya se me quitó. Muchas gracias.
Originally I was nervous, but yeah, not anymore. Thank you. And briefly, I want to say that Maria came to our offices actually just before the commissioner was set to visit, and talked about her case, which, as you heard, being paid $50 a day for 10 plus hours of work per day is one thing. It's a horrific circumstance to be living through. On top of that, she truly loved and cared for the kids that she was looking after and cared about that family. And the way that they treated her in return is another just slap in the face, as one of the ways she described it originally to me. That day at the panel, we had 5 really simple demands with the Dignity at Work campaign. And there were things that we thought that the labor commissioner could at least discuss and be able to take action on fairly quickly administratively. It was, 1, take into account all available evidence for labor claims, which is pointing to the rampant misclassification that happens specifically with regard to day laborers, domestic workers, and low-wage workers. That has a lower standard of evidence, but they were not even accepting pictures, text messages, and rejecting cases outright without even hearing anything about the details. 2 was to enforce penalties. At the time, 6 months ago, we calculated that they were collecting less than 16% of available penalties for wage claims here in the state, and in fact, settling cases for workers at that amount. 3, they should use the law that exists on the books to collaborate with the Attorney General and prosecute employers who violate and refuse to pay on final orders, which is, again, once you win your claim, collections is a whole other process, and that's the same here. It's true in many other states. For make the office accessible, actually open the doors to these workers who oftentimes would show up Spanish speaking or speaking other languages, and just because they couldn't communicate with the workers there would be turned away. And in fact, the presumption of independent contractor was maybe based on their language preference or their ethnicity rather than any facts about their case. And finally, just to open a dialogue with the community to start to make administrative changes on the books. And so those are the demands we had 6 months ago when she came to the Arriba offices to meet with a room full of workers. And her response at that time was actually to say that, well, I'm not gonna be able to do anything for at least 6 months. And we laughed. And she left the room angry at the community that had challenged her. And all that we wanted in that moment was a dialogue. And we still only want a dialogue in order to actually make these very simple changes that don't even require the legislative session to be in session. In spite of that, in spite of trying to open different ways of making those changes, people like Maria Francisca have been completely ignored by the office. And so I think that the change that I've seen is that workers who were just being individually rejected from the doors of the office of the labor commissioner, maybe they're not arriving at the labor commissioner yet and having their cases heard justly, but they certainly are arriving to the Arriba Las Vegas Worker Center every Tuesday, and they're meeting, and they're starting to plan and organize. Sí se puede, sí se puede. And that's
Y vamos a poder.
We're gonna win, that's what I would say, actually. Vamos a ganar. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be able to.
Yes. Thank you so much, I appreciate you. And LaLo, do you want to tell us about the legislative campaign or any campaign you were a part of with Make the Road that kind of made you see what was really possible when workers lead?
Yeah. At the heart of our organizing work, sorry. I was reminded throughout, as we fought for economic justice and housing justice and all the work that we do, that our most important responsibility of all of us in this room is to create spaces where we remind people of their own power. And once they are reminded of that, and like mi compañera Maria, what we can do is limitless. And that's what we saw during the legislative session, is that we kept pushing and pushing and pushing. However, we're in this moment where accountability after we push and is the most important critical thing that we're dealing with at the moment. So we, not only do we have 1 of 4 in the world women-led legislatures, it wasn't enough. It's not enough. But really good things happened when people did come together and push back. We were able to pass a bill that I'm very proud of as the Nevada Immigrant Coalition pushed for, AB 275, that allows, in this moment, with this hate towards immigrants, here in Nevada, we have the opportunity to give professional licensing to anyone regardless of their legal status. That is huge. And with that, however, there needs to be accountability, because now we have to educate not only our teachers who are on the front lines of those undocumented students who are right now again finding out they could not apply for DACA because Trump ended it in 2017. So they're finding out just like I did in 10th grade, and we need to do more for those that are right now not able to apply for these programs, but they will be able to apply for programs like AB 275 and continue their education despite these attacks on our communities. And that to me is what I learned the most, is that when we do build these spaces where we're reminded of our own power, that our fight for dignity and respect is that we will be heard. But it's our job as organizers to continue building those spaces, and once we do win, to hold them accountable.
Thank you, LaLo. And then to Michelle, the same question. I feel like with Culinary, everything is possible because y'all are such a strong union. But what are, in your campaigns that you've been part of, what kind of changed your mind or what you saw more clarity on as what is possible when workers lead?
Well, I worked on both campaigns, like I said, from the beginning until recently now. And in the beginning, it was really hard because some of the workers didn't know what the union was all about. So I'd have to go to sit and talk to them or go to their housing, house visits. And that was difficult because they were like, no, we're afraid. Don't be afraid, you have rights. This is what it's all about. You have rights as a worker. And once they saw that, not to be afraid, and I went in right away when we were able to button. I wore my button that I have on now. And I was afraid at times, but I didn't want to tell them, because the management would, focus on us and, watch us, what we were doing, because we weren't allowed to talk about the union, on work time. It had to be off the clock and, in our cafeteria. So once they saw how we organized and how the whole town got together with us, because it wasn't just our fight, it was everyone's fight. And the better our contract is, then the next contract will be even better. So they finally, some of them got it, and some of our workers did work in union properties, so they understood that. Once we did that and I negotiated, it was a wonderful experience for me because I got to speak and, understand what was going on and explain it to my workers. And the fight was hard, but we did it, and we organized, and now I have, we call it a list of 20. So in other words, I had 20 workers that I would talk to and focus on and explain to them what was all about and what their concerns were, what would they want in our contract, how can I help? And of course, I would talk to other areas. I work in the buffet, so I would talk to cocktail waitresses, or I would talk to people that were servers, everywhere. So once we got the first contract, which was a fight, it took 5 years. We had a bank that owned us, which called the Deutsche Bank, and then an investment. They didn't know anything about what hotels were, what casinos were. So a couple times they were going to shut down the buffet because they felt we weren't making enough money for them, but we worked hard. We worked really hard. And then after that, the investment group called Blackstone purchased us, which, yes, you know all about Blackstone. So they purchased us, but we finally got our contract with them. That was a success. And like I said in the beginning, the most important thing, one of the most important thing is called owners and successorship. And what that means is that we have a contract, we're sold with the company, that we're protected, we have our jobs. Then just recently, like I said, we got our new contract. It was a little easier with my coworkers because they appreciated what we had done before. I mean, I go out in the cold, leafleting, outside, picketing, freezing cold, and the heat would be going out there, and we all work together. So like I said, it's just not one, we fight together, we're united, we're together. So it was an amazing experience, and my coworkers, and then we just got a contract, they hugged me, kissed me, thank you, I said, well, it wasn't just my fight, we all did it together. We're not afraid. I'm also a shop steward, so I make sure the management, withholds our contract, and which is very important because they try and weasel things and say, oh no, we could do it this way. No, this is the way it's done, and that's what we're protecting.
And I definitely encourage people to look at the website fairhotel.org, and you'll know from Unite Here which hotels have union contracts, which are in active boycott, and we know, especially here in Southern Nevada, we don't sleep, meet, or eat at any station casino properties. They're owned by the Fertitta brothers, who are very anti-union. They also own the Palms, and they also own the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So remember that next time you are putting your money toward any pay-per-view or hotels that are not unionized. And then finally, Stephanie, if you want to talk to us, especially, you know, I told you I used to work for UNLV. I was an
Yes.
ASFE member. I could have never imagined that we finally would get collective bargaining. So tell us a little bit about what you saw or what you reimagined what was possible when workers lead.
My gosh, I think that it's amazing to see the activity within our union, to see my coworkers be excited of the possibility of what's to come. There's a lot of hard work ahead of us. Yes, we have the law in place, but now we have the work to organize 20,000 people to join us in the fight, to get our voices heard and to negotiate and have a seat at the table. And so the change that I saw was having the bill pass, but also, like I said, seeing other coworkers excited and being activated. And I've been doing this for 2 years now, and when I first started, the meetings were sparse. There were same faces every time, and now within the last, I want to say, 6 months, our meetings are filled. And it's pretty amazing to see the crowd that we have, behind us or with us. And we have had 3 bargaining units file for recognition. And so that's a pretty exciting moment. And I'm excited to be a part of the history of Nevada for state employees.
So we're doing pretty good on time, and so I wanted to ask people, I know some have touched on it, but just to go through what is next for your organizations or your organizing, what people should know, and then if we do have a few more minutes, we'll take questions from the audience. And Maria Francis, do you want to start?
Quiero saber cuándo nos van a subir el salario mínimo.
I want to know when they're going to raise the minimum wage here.
Porque no me parece justo trabajar tanto por una hora y que nos paguen $9. No.
Because I don't think it's just that we work so much for an hour and they pay us $9 or less here. Yeah.
Well, I have a list that I've been working on, so I'll just read it out loud. We're gonna be in coalition again with the Time to Care Nevada Coalition. We need to. It's probably my list. We need to fix the earned paid sick days bill. It wasn't enough. It doesn't cover enough workers. So we need to convince the lawmakers of Carson City that what they did that's not going to cover enough of our families. We need to work with others to pass paid family leave, and for some reason they're confused. When we mention earned paid sick days and paid family leave, they go crazy and they don't know. They say that they don't know what we're talking about. That they thought it was the same thing. So we're going to go in there and be very clear what those things are. We want to expand access to training programs and certifications for undocumented communities. That means expanding AB 275. We also need rent caps for the elderly who are on fixed incomes. We are in a housing crisis here in Nevada, and recently our mayor and city council voted 5-2 for a homeless ban. That ain't right. Exactly. So we'll continue to fight at the local level and every level for housing justice, as well as undocumented folks being able to purchase health insurance on the Silver State Health Exchange. 3 of our members have already passed away in a year and a half that we've been open from cancer. it's too late when they're getting to the doctor. And these are matters of life and death. We either have something on health insurance or we have nothing. And the other one that we feel our undocumented parents are being ignored in the Clark County School District. There is no immigrant support system in Clark County School District, and we're the 5th largest in the country. We have more students with undocumented parents per capita than any other city in the country. So it's no excuse. They need to do something, and we're pushing them to do it. So the only way to make sure that happens is to allow undocumented parents to vote and serve in the school board. So those are some of the things that we'll continue to fight for, and we'll need all of your support to do it.
Well, one of my passions that we're working on, I'm type 1 diabetic. So we have a medical facility that is only for the union workers. It's free. We go there, we don't pay anything, no co-pays. So we have one right now, and they're building another one. It's going to be about 2 or 3 years. So what our goal is to have maybe 4 more facilities for us workers just to go to, and it's for the culinary. So that's one of a passion for me. And also the biggest thing is the fight for the station casinos. We're trying to, it's been a while, and we've got 7, I think it's 7 casinos station has. So that is one of the biggest fights right now that they're working on to get contracts and negotiate with station casinos.
For us, we have 8 more bargaining units to get our numbers 50% plus 1 to where we can actually be recognized to file for our collective bargaining. So we still have a lot of work to do. Like I said, we have to organize 20,000 employees to join us. So that is our priority, is to continue to get our numbers to where they need to be.
And I just want to add that you can join Maria Francisca and sign the pledge, the Dignity at Work pledge at arribalasvegas.org. And that's supporting all the workers who are pushing to make those changes with the Labor Commissioner, including implementing the Domestic Worker Bill of Rights and fighting employee misclassification. Right? And I think I also should add, because I know Arriba's working on this and we haven't touched on it yet here on the panel, is stopping police-ICE collaboration here in Las Vegas, here in Nevada, which terrorizes immigrant families, and it's an important push that Arriba's doing. So you can also find that on arribalasvegas.org.
Señora comisionada, cumpla. Y también queremos que nos aumenten el sueldo, ¿ok? Por favor. Gracias.
And directly to the Labor Commissioner, please cumpla, do what you say. And please help us raise the minimum wage.
Thank you. And we do have some time for audience questions. If you raise your hand, we will bring a mic to you. Raise it high, because there's 2 bright lights in my face. I can't see. No questions? Shy group. Right up front.
Thanks very much. This was a great panel. I'd like you two from Culinary and AFSCME to talk a little bit about the collaboration between Culinary and AFSCME to win public sector collective bargaining, because as I understand it, that was just like a great partnership, which doesn't always happen inside the labor movement. So if you could address that a bit.
Yes, so we are part of AFL-CIO, and so we come together and we have blitzes, and we do house calls, we do events, getting folks at worksite events to understand the importance of joining a union and what benefits that you have from joining.
Thank you for that question. Anyone else in the audience question? that a hand back there? I really can't see. Well, I just want to actually add to context something that you brought up. I think it should be a no-brainer that it's not just in a vacuum. It's not just we have jobs and that's why we organize. There's also kind of the full scope. We have to think about healthcare. We have to think about immigration status. We have to think of the role that white supremacy and institutional racism also plays in our organizing. Thank you. One of the other questions I had is, if people want to touch on what are some of the barriers that you faced, other than the boss, what were some barriers that you faced to your organizing?
For me, it was the bosses, but also it was fear. In my specific department, there's a lot of fear surrounding being an AFSCME member. It's not supported, unfortunately. And so there was a lot of fear and misunderstanding on what we can actually do coming together and you know, having a voice to be able to demand the things that we deserve. A livable wage, insurance that's affordable, safe work conditions. And when we have those things, we are public servants, and so we are serving the community. So when we're being taken care of, then we can also take care of our communities properly. Without all of those things, you know, a great medical, you know, benefits, a livable wage, we're struggling as employees. And so there's times when we're not able to provide that service that the community so deserves. So it's important. So,
Laura.
you know, breaking that fear of joining us together. And I think people are afraid to have a voice. People are afraid of also change. That means that you have to go against the guy that tells you what to do, and that is that is scary at times. So I think making that change and giving the knowledge to employees is important.
Laura, we have a question over here, unless someone wants to answer that question.
Thank you to the wonderful panel. I understand that some people on the commissioner level, for example, have not been helpful. But I just wondered if there were any state or local elected officials that were helpful to you in any of your efforts.
Absolutely. Steve Sisolak, the governor, is you know, supports workers and our rights. Also, in my district, Assemblyman Ozzie Fumo actually supports. I had an opportunity to sit down with him and talk to him about the importance of collective bargaining and what that entails and how it's going to benefit state employees. What I do want to tell you folks, I don't know if you know, but prior to the passage of SB 135, county and city employees already had collective bargaining for 50 years before this. So they knew what, you know, they knew the benefits, and so it you know, these politicians that support us understand the importance of the work that we're doing.
Thanks for that question. I wanted to uplift Assemblywoman Selina Torrez, who was a key champion in the legislative building to pass AB 275 to advocate for immigrant rights. It couldn't have been done without her in her first year being bold and fearless and saying yes when everyone said no. So folks like her, we need more people from the community. She's a teacher on the east side, so we need more folks like her in the building to make those wins possible.
I believe Selena is the youngest legislator. I think she's
Yeah.
26 years old, so talk about being fearless. And I want to lift up our entire legislature. I would say we had a lot of issues. We do have a trifecta for the first time in 25 years, but it was difficult. difficult in process because we did have a member pass away, we had 2 members resign, and so a lot of things were very fluid, but the trifecta, which is what we will talk about tomorrow, is not all that it's cracked up to be. So I think despite that, there were a lot of young legislators. We've done a good job of actually identifying and supporting people from our community to run and not just, allowing the party to just identify some wealthy attorney or businessman to run. And Selena is an example of that. Edgar Flores, Jason Frierson is our speaker, who really did a tremendous job of trying to corral people and also going back to kind of the whole self as a worker. So also making sure the Nevada Immigrant Coalition's legislative priorities were also pushed through, as well as the Coalition of Mass Liberation and the formerly incarcerated agenda was also supported because those 2 issues also directly impact workers.
Laura, we have,
Just real quick, I also just want to mention County Commissioners Tick Sagerblum and Justin Jones, who have been supportive. And I think, while we have been bringing up the Labor Commissioner herself here a lot, I would say that a lot of times the people who are actually working the cases, the individual caseworkers, although they don't receive the best training maybe or the right instruction from the top, can be very helpful in certain cases. And I would actually recognize people who are working really hard with very little resources and are stretched very thin that should be given the right training and direction to be able to do the cases even better, right?
Thank you. And a question in the back?
Buenos días, muchas gracias, fabuloso presentación que están dando. Quiero hablar un poco sobre los retos que yo vengo de la colectiva de mujeres trabajadoras del hogar, somos parte de la Alianza Nacional y la coalición a nivel estatal. Y algunos de los retos que estamos viendo es el miedo, obviamente, pero más allá del miedo es que vemos que los abogados no luchan por un robo de sueldo que sea pequeño. Y ese es un gran reto que estamos por muchos años viviendo, y lo que nosotros queremos hacer con la clínica legal que tenemos es que los abogados nos acompañen a hacer piqueteos, a hacer marchas, a hacer una conferencia afuera de la casa del empleador para así ganar estos sueldos. Otra de las cosas que estamos haciendo es, queremos lanzar una propuesta a la ciudad para que haya una mesa del board dentro de la ciudad con trabajadoras del hogar, con organizaciones que trabajan con la comunidad, para así hacer posible que estos sueldos sean recuperados, porque hay mucho dinero de las trabajadoras del hogar que no se recuperan por varias razones. Una trabajadora del hogar que cuida niños, que cuida pacientes, limpia casas, por muchos años no se les ve, somos invisibles. Pero actualmente tenemos como 10 años que estamos luchando y cada día estamos siendo visibles. Es muy importante que lo que nosotros hacemos en la organización es que organizamos, empoderamos a la miembro para que ella negocie con el empleador, y si la quiere robar, ella le dice: vengo de la colectiva de mujeres y somos parte de la Alianza Nacional. Oh, no, ahorita le vamos a pagar. Y hemos recuperado sueldos así por el poder de la mujer. Así es de que sí se puede, María. Arriba Las Vegas.
I'm going to try to translate that. So this is Guille from the Colectiva de Mujeres in San Francisco. First, thank you for the presentation. First, she was talking about how important it is to overcome fear and the fear that really exists in the community, and how you have to work with people in order to come forward and speak out. They have a wage theft clinic, and it's really hard to find lawyers who are willing to take cases that have small monetary amounts attached to them. And so they're doing work to educate lawyers about the importance of taking those small cases and of not only pursuing the traditional legal remedies, but also the importance of organizing, picketing, marching, making public even these very small wage thefts. And so they're also working to get a labor board or a wage board, I guess, for domestic workers in el estado o la ciudad? In San Francisco, that would do more to regulate the industry, that would set wages, that would set standards and conditions. There was a lot more, but.
I could start with part of that. Gracias, Guillermina. And that's exactly, I mean, it's a very important question. I think all three parts of that are related, starting with the fact that attorneys generally won't take, I mean, regular private attorneys won't take the small claims because it's not profitable for them. And it's a lot of work. I mean, if I have a workers' comp claim, it's very easy for me to find a private attorney to pass it on to. But for the day-to-day wage claims that happen so often, it is very difficult. There are some tools that they have created in the law to try to push that attorneys to take those cases, like filing cases under PAGA, Private Attorneys General Act, where private attorneys can collect fines and fees. But I would just point that to why it's really important to have very serious fines attached to these, and actually stuff that makes the employers put skin in the game, because then a private attorneys maybe would be able to take on these cases and do it profitably. But that profit motive is never really, I think, going to push towards what we want, which is that systemic change. And what Guillermina is saying about the wage board and about what I like to call extrajudicial actions, take organizing workers and going to those houses, going to those construction sites. That's the way to, one, and I always say this, win that money as quickly as possible, actually, without going through the entire elongated process, but to actually build worker power. If I'm an attorney and I file a claim and do nothing else, I'm actually making that worker probably more vulnerable to retaliation. They're already afraid of some hit back, and if I simply file and kind of wait for things to take its course, then employer is going to be able to wait around, first of all, for over a year, even in the state of California, where we have a lot of resources for this. And likewise, they might be able to, and often do, blacklist those employees with other employers. That's why it's so important, like she said, to have organizations like La Colectiva in San Francisco, and many other organizations that have a name that once you hear it, it strikes fear in the heart of these employers that would steal. That's what you really want, because you want them to be afraid of the worker power that can actually come back and is meaningful. And so that worker organizing, and then a wage board that would actually make sure that those wages are paid, make sure that those claims are heard and not in a very elongated process or after collections, after everything, to actually make that, make those employers who would abuse the system and abuse workers have skin in the game up front. That's the only way to actually systemically change things, not just filing claims, but actually organizing. So, gracias, Guillermina, por su trabajo.
Thank you, everyone. That's all for our time. So please give it up for our panel. Again. And of course, thank you to NELP for not only holding your conference here in Las Vegas, but for opening the conference with people from Nevada, not Nevada, from Nevada, who can talk about the victories here and what we're working on to truly support workers and maintain Las Vegas as a union town. So again, thank you again, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your conference.
Wasn't that an awesome panel? Let's thank the panelists one more time. Woo! What a way to get started. All right, we're heading to our breakouts now. Now, one thing, if you haven't done it already, I would suggest is that you download the Whova app for this conference, because it's got lots of useful information. If you're trying to find the breakout session that you want to go to, The most up-to-date information about locations is in there. Otherwise, you can look in your programs or ask folks at registration. The breakout sessions begin at 10:45, so you've got about 15 minutes until those are going to start. They look amazing. I encourage you to go. And we'll be back here at 12:15 for lunch. See you all.